He had never seen snow fall so thick and fast, and he had never imagined it would bring him anything other than cold, numb fingers and silent loneliness. But that was before he found the two alien girls curled together under broken hull, a shattered pod half buried in white their skin, was pale with a soft shimmer, like the moon on ice, their hair long, and braided with glints of metallic threads, and their bodies thin, fragile, barely conscious, as he approached, their eyes open with flicker of fear and confusion, and he saw the same color, in both a kind of glowing silver, that seemed to search his soul. They spoke no language he knew, but their shivers, and the way they reached out told him enough. They were freezing to death. Without another thought, he took off his coat and draped it over both of them, lifting the smaller one in his arms, and urging the other to follow. He was a hermit by choice, living in a cabin high in the mountains far from cities and satellites, but now it seemed fate had found him. Anyway, he laid them near the fire, wrapping them in blankets, heating soup over the stove, while they watched him with silent gratitude and wonder. He tried to speak, but they only tilted their heads until the smaller one pressed a finger to his lips, and then to her own, as if say it was all right. Silence was enough. In the days that followed, they learned from each other slowly. He taught them words like warm, safe food, and they taught him their names, Eileen and Sarah's sisters. They had crashed during a scouting mission gone wrong, their planet far from here, too far to return soon, even if they could repair the pod, which they couldn't, and so they stayed in his cabin and filled the quiet with laughter that sounded like wind chimes and curious touches of things like books, mugs, flannel shirts, and his face, which Eileen cupped gently one morning as he stoked the fire, looking at him like he was something rare and beautiful. Sarah watched from the table, her eyes less soft, more intense, as if she were always measuring, always wondering if he was worthy, but still she smiled when he brought her a fresh bowl of soup or offered his chair, or listened when she tried to explain how stars dance in her culture. In return, they helped him clean, cook, gather wood. They repaired his tools, sharpened his knives, and on nights when the blizzards raged, they both curled beside him in bed, not with desire, but for warmth and safety at first, until warmth turned to closeness, and closeness to longing. It began with Eileen brushing his cheek one morning after he woke, her eyes wide and tender, as she whispered his name, not with words, but with tone and breath, and then she kissed him, not fiercely, but like snowflakes melting against skin, and he was stunned, heart pounding, when Sarah stood in the doorway watching, without a word, only stepping forward to take his other hand, saying nothing still, but her eyes were no longer cold, only burning. Weeks passed, and the snow never stopped. But inside the cabin life bloomed. They worked together, ate together, and at night he no longer slept alone. He shared his bed with both, not in lust, not at first, but because they wanted to be close to him and to each other. He asked once with hesitation, "Is this okay?" And Eileen just smiled and placed his hand on her heart, while Sarah whispered in her halting accent, "You are home now." One morning, as spring threatened the edge of the sky, Eileen stood beside him as he chopped wood and said softly, "She wants to be your mate too." I said, "I already want that." And he looked between them both, their silver eyes, their shared hope, and he knew he could never choose one over the other, because they were two halves of the same soul, and they had chosen him not out of desperation, but out of something deeper. He watched them gather snow to melt for water, laughing as they slipped and splashed, and he felt something strange, something whole inside him. When night fell that day, they presented him with two simple braided cords made of their hair and thread from their suits, and asked, "Will you bind with us? Will you be our male?" And he hesitated, not because he doubted, but because he was overwhelmed, and then he nodded and pulled them both into his arms, and kissed them not as one over the other, but as his equal loves. The binding was simple, only a circle drawn in ash and snow, with their hands joined and their voices humming. And when it was done, they said, "Now we are yours, and you are ours forever." The snow melted, and the trees bloomed, but they did not leave. Even when a rescue ship finally came buzzing above the mountains, Eileen looked at him and said, "We told them we are staying." Sarah added, "We belong here now with you." The ship left without them, and the three remained in the cabin. And each day they lived as a family, as a bond deeper than species or worlds. They did not need ceremonies or approval. They only needed each other. And when he asked someday, "Will your people accept this?" Eileen said softly, "They may not understand, but they will see we are loved, and that is enough."